I've scattered the ashes. Consider it an explanation for those 3 years. She placed the light blue notebook gently on the stone millstone next to me. But this is what the present me wants to say to the present you. She took a step back, but her gaze remained locked on me. Su-Yan, I didn't come here to settle old scores with you, nor did I come to beg you to change your mind. Those things are meaningless. I came to tell you, I still like you, more than 3 years ago, more than ever. Liking you has nothing to do with whether I'm a star or not, and it has nothing to do with where you are. It only has to do with me. Bai Ning Bing. The evening breeze blew, sweeping the hair from her forehead and carrying her scent, that familiar scent that makes my heart race. You can keep running. You can feel unworthy. You can have 10,000 reasons to push me away. That's your freedom. But liking you is my business. I can't control you, and don't you dare try to control me. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was incredibly clear, carrying a determination like someone who's burned their bridges, echoing in the falling dusk. Starting today, I am going to pursue you, using every way I can think of. All the ways that aren't annoying but that you can see, until you love me again, or until I've completely lost hope. After she finished speaking, it was as if a huge weight had been lifted from her. She let out a long breath, relieved. The tear tracks on her face weren't dry yet, but she broke into a relieved smile that was even a little childish. All right, I've said my piece. She gave me one last deep look, her gaze complex and unreadable. There was relief, there was stubbornness, and a barely perceptible hint of tension. Then she turned and walked away with light but firm steps towards the gate she had come through, without a single look back, not giving me any chance to speak. I was frozen to the spot, like a wind-worn stone statue. In my hand, I still held the weightless iron box. Beside me was the heavy, light blue notebook. The sunset finally sank completely below the horizon. The last ray of light was swallowed by the night. The yard grew dark, with only scattered lights from distant houses. The night wind, carrying a chill, blew on my face, but it couldn't cool the burning heat in my heart. Every word Bai Ning Bing had just said echoed thunderously in my head. I will pursue you until you love me again, or until I've completely lost hope. So decisive, so direct, so typically Bai Ning Bing. No beating around the bush, no testing the waters. She laid all her cards on the table, all her vulnerability and courage, displayed before me without holding anything back. It was like a red-hot iron, suddenly pressed against my heart, which I thought had long since scabbed over. It was searingly painful, but also so hot it made one tremble. I slowly lowered my head, looking at the iron box in my hand, then at the notebook resting on the stone millstone. So, what was this considered? A reply 3 years too late, or a new, even more chaotic beginning? I didn't know. I only knew that the peace I had painstakingly maintained for 3 years, the wall around my heart I thought was unbreakable, in the face of her words just now, had become fragile beyond compare. It turns out I had never really let go. I had just taken her and all the feelings, the hopes, insecurities, and cowardice related to her, and buried them together in the deepest grave in my heart. Then I told myself it was just an unimportant old dream. Now, the grave has been dug up, the light has gotten in, and I have nowhere left to hide. The night wind started to pick up, carrying the scent of distant fields. I stood on the spot for a long, long time. It wasn't until Arshu's footsteps sounded in the yard that I snapped out of it, hurriedly grabbing the notebook from the stone millstone, along with the iron box, and fled to my room as if escaping. I closed the door to my room, my back against the cold wood, my heart still pounding wildly in my chest. In my hand, the hard corner of the notebook dug painfully into my palm, just like her final gaze and those words, dug into my heart, leaving a clear and burning impression, impossible to ignore any longer. That night, I couldn't sleep. Bai Ning Bing's words were like a playback machine, repeating over and over in my head, every word, every pause, even the slight tremor in her voice as she spoke, her red-rimmed eyes, her stubborn gaze. All of it was crystal clear. I still like you. I will pursue you until you love me again, or until I've completely lost hope. Decisive, direct, leaving no room for retreat, just like her. When she was little, whatever she wanted, she had to have. If she couldn't get it, she'd find a way, until she finally got it. The only difference is, as a child, she would whine and throw tantrums, but now it was a firm declaration. I buried my head in my pillow, trying to push those sounds and images out of my head, but it was useless. Finally, I sat up decisively and turned on the light. Under the dim yellow light, the light blue notebook lay quietly on the table. The iron box was beside it, like a silent witness. I stared at the notebook for a long time, my fingertips reaching out to touch the hard cover, then pulling back as if burned. To read or not to read? Reading it, what would that mean? It would mean I'd have to directly face her psychological journey over the past 3 years, the one I missed. It would mean I'd have to peel off the scar myself, the one I thought had healed, to see how it had festered underneath, and not reading it, pretend it doesn't exist. Continue to bury my head in the sand, pretend nothing happened. But Bai Ning Bing had already taken a shovel and dug up my sandpit. I ran my hands through my hair in frustration, and finally reached out to pick up the notebook. It was very light, but it felt as heavy as gold. The first page was blank. I turned a page. There was her elegant yet strong handwriting. It wasn't on letter paper, but written directly in the notebook. There was no salutation at the beginning, and no signature. It was like a private diary, yet it seemed to be written for me. but they were letters never intended to be sent. Su Yan, it's raining today. The rain in London is so annoying. It's all sticky and damp, not like back home, where it either pours or it doesn't rain at all. I remember the rainy days before. You never liked using an umbrella, saying that walking in the drizzle felt nice. As a result, you always got scolded by Auntie Bai. Such an idiot. The date was from 3 years ago, not long after she first went abroad. My finger froze, and I continued to read on. The teacher praised me in literature class today. I am so happy. I wanted to tell you, but when I opened the chat window, I remembered. Ah, you blocked me. Su Yan, you're such a bastard. The audition is over. It's just a small role, but it has lines. The director said, I have spirit. If you were here, you'd definitely pout and say, of course, she's my deskmate after all. Too bad you're not here. Bastard. The other actresses in the group are boycotting me. They made fun of my accent. It's okay. It'll prove them wrong. I am just a little tired. If you were here, you'd probably awkwardly tell a lame joke, or just drag me out for a good meal. Su Yan, I am craving the spicy hot pot from behind the school gate, the kind with lots of sesame sauce. Bastard. I won an award, a very small award, but it's my first acting award. Standing on stage, the lights were so bright I couldn't open my eyes. So many people were clapping below, but the person I wanted to see most wasn't there. Su Yan, did you see the news? Were you even a little happy for me? Never mind. You definitely didn't see it. Bastard. I dreamed of you again. I dreamed, you said to me. Bye Ningbing. Don't go. Stay. I woke up laughing, and then I cried. Su Yan, I hate you. It's been 100 days. Still no news from you. Su Yan, do you really not want me anymore? Su Yan, today, someone confessed their feelings to me. He was a very outstanding senior. I rejected him. I said I already have someone I like, that he's waiting for me to come home. See how good I've become at lying? I even deceived myself. It's snowing. The first snow in London. I heard it has snowed in our hometown too. Su Yan, do you still remember our promise to watch the first snow together? Happy New Year. Su Yan, the new year isn't happy at all without you. Su Yan, I am tired. I don't want to like you anymore, but it seems I can't do it. Su Yan, if this is what you want, then I will do as you wish. The last entry stopped 2 years ago. The handwriting was a bit messy. At the end, there was a faint mark, blurred by a water stain. Flipping to the back, there were endless blank pages. Until the very last page, there was new handwriting. The ink was still fresh, perhaps written recently. There were only 2 short lines. I tried. I lost. There was no date, no signature. Just these few words, pressed deeply through the paper. I closed the notebook and closed my eyes. My chest felt like it was stuffed with a water-soaked cotton ball. It was both heavy and suffocating, making it hard for me to breathe. So it turns out, while I thought I had coolly turned my back and started a new life, she had gone through so much alone in a foreign country, from the initial complaints, sharing, and expectations, to the later feelings of being wronged and doubt, self-doubt, and finally, despair, trying to give up, but unable to cut ties. Every stroke, every character, was like a knife carving into my heart. I had thought my letting go was a noble sacrifice, but it turned out to be just a cowardly escape and the heaviest shackles I had placed on her. I had left her in a foreign land, to gnaw on the pain of abandonment alone. At every moment that needed sharing or confiding, she had to face a cold void with no reply. While I hid in a shell I considered safe, and even felt proud of my own clear-headedness and nonchalance. Su Yan, you're really a bastard. A self-righteous bastard from beginning to end. As dawn was about to break, I finally drifted off into a hazy sleep. In my dreams were strange scenes. Sometimes it was Bai Ningbing at the airport, her eyes red, clutching my sleeve. Sometimes it was her on the awards stage, radiant with glory but with empty eyes. And then it was her last night, standing in the sunset, saying with tears that she still liked me. When I woke up, my head was splitting. Outside the window, the sky was bright. Birds were chirping merrily. I sat on the bed in a daze for a long time. The notebook lay silently by the pillow, like a piece of red-hot iron. Then I made a decision. I picked up my phone and opened the number I hadn't called in 3 years, but knew by heart. The last digits 1017. My fingertip hovered over the call button, trembling slightly. My heart was beating very fast, almost wanting to leap out of my chest. I took a deep breath, then another deep breath, and pressed the button. The ringing tone only sounded twice, before someone answered. So fast it was as if she had always been waiting for this call. The other end of the line was very quiet. There was no sound. Only a faint breath, so faint it was almost inaudible. My throat tightened and felt dry. I moved my lips and finally managed to let out a hoarse voice. Bai Ningbing. She responded with a sound. The other end went silent. There was only the slight static and her almost inaudible breathing. I gripped the phone tightly, my fingertips cold. The words I had rehearsed countless times in my head were now stuck in my throat, forming a hard lump. I heard my own voice, so hoarse I didn't recognize it. I've read the notebook. Oh, she replied very softly, her emotions unreadable. I am sorry. 3 words, so bland and powerless, but I could only repeat them. Bai Ningbing, I am sorry for everything. An almost inaudible sigh came through the phone. Su Yan, she finally spoke. Her voice, transmitted through the current, carried a distant wariness and a strange calm. Your apology, I've said it to myself tens of thousands of times over these 3 years. I told myself that it was because I wasn't good enough, that you left. It was because I didn't understand you, that I made you feel tired. It was because I was too clingy, too troublesome, too self-righteous, thinking you would always be waiting in the same place. Her voice was very steady, without even a ripple, but every word hammered into my heart. A dull ache spread. So don't apologize anymore, she said. Your apology negates all my sadness from those 3 years. That's the proof that I truly lived, even if it was terrible. My Adam's apple bobbed. I was speechless. The bridge of my nose stung. Su-Yan. She paused for a moment, her voice lowered, carrying a barely perceptible tremor. I just want to ask you one question. Go ahead and ask, I said immediately, as if grasping a life-saving straw. The other end was silent for a few more seconds, as if gathering courage. Then I heard her ask, her voice very soft, very light, but it weighed 1,000 pounds. Su-Yan, do you still like me now? Not out of guilt, not to make up for things, not out of nostalgia for the past. It's about now, this very moment, looking at who I am. Su-Yan, do you still like Bai Ningbing? The world seemed to freeze in that moment. The birds chirping outside the window, the sound of the wind rustling the leaves, the distant barking of a dog, all of it faded away, leaving only the pounding of my heart and her faint, cautious breath coming through the line. She was waiting for an answer that was 3 years late, crossing mountains and seas, carrying countless misunderstandings and hurts. I closed my eyes. What flashed before my eyes were not the fragmented memories of the past 20 years, but every vivid, painful moment since we reunited. It was her icy gaze, the moment she pushed open the gate. It was her weak, pale face when she fainted in my yard. It was when she, with red-rimmed eyes, called me a bastard. It was, with the deep hurt hidden in her eyes. It was when she squatted on the threshing ground, trembling, and treated my wound, with beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. It was in last night's sunset, when she shed tears but still stood tall, saying fiercely, "I'll pursue you." It was, with the unquenchable fire in her eyes, the feelings I had deliberately ignored and forcefully suppressed, like a spring tide after the ice melts, thundered, breaking all the dams of self-deception, surging violently, with nowhere to run. I had always thought that like was the flutter of youth, the companionship of adolescence. Until this moment, I finally understood. Like is that even if you're covered in wounds, even if separated by time and misunderstandings, when you see her again, your heart will still beat erratically for her. Like is knowing the road ahead is still rough, but being unable to bear a life without a trace of her anymore. The two words, I like you, dry but incredibly, clearly, were squeezed from my throat, without a hint of hesitation. On the other end of the line, her breath seemed to catch for a moment, then I heard her take a very soft breath in, as if a burden had been lifted, with a hint of a choked, nasal tone. Say it again, she said, her voice softening, with a hint of willfulness, a bit of petulance, just like the little girl from childhood who wouldn't give up until she got a satisfactory answer. My heart in that very moment melted completely. I like you, I repeated, my voice steadier now, carrying a gentleness and determination I didn't realize I had. Bai Ningbing, I like you. Not the past, the present, it has always been this way. A sob came from the other end, suppressed, very soft, but it was like hot lava, piercing through all my armor and camouflage. Su-Yan, she was crying, and yet it sounded like she was laughing. You really are a damn bastard, making me wait for so long. Yeah, my throat was tight, the corners of my eyes burned. I am a bastard. So what are you going to do about it? She asked through her sobs, like a child demanding an explanation. I looked out the window. The morning sun was beautiful, illuminating the quiet courtyard I had tended for 3 years. Last night, you said you would pursue me, I said slowly, the corners of my mouth turning up unconsciously. Now, let's switch it to me pursuing you, shall we? Bai Ningbing, I am no longer the self-righteous fool from 3 years ago. I still don't know how to say sweet things. I am probably still not good at farming, and I can't step into your sparkling, starlit world. But I have a yard full of more watermelons than you can eat, an old well that can chill mung bean soup, the skill to climb trees and pick persimmons, though I might still fall. And I also have a heart that, although far too late, definitely only wants to like you alone. I paused for a moment, feeling a warm stream on my face. Are you willing to give this bastard a chance to make amends, to pursue you again from the beginning? On the other end, the crying had stopped, leaving only silence. A few long seconds, felt like a century. Then I heard her stuffy voice, but it was incredibly clear, incredibly crisp. Well, see how you perform. Su-Yan, if you dare to run again this time, I'll turn this entire world upside down, to drag you out, tie you to my side, and bother you for the rest of your life. I laughed, and the tears fell even more freely. Okay? I said, no more running. Even if my legs are broken, I won't run anymore. The sunlight streamed unreservedly into the house, illuminating the light blue notebook on the table, and the rusty iron box next to it. Dust motes danced gently in the pillar of light, as if after a long, drawn-out winter, a gentle salvation had finally arrived. But thankfully, time had not run out. You and I were not yet old. Thankfully, after crossing thousands of rivers and mountains, when I look back, you were still here, and I was still here too. End of story. Epilogue. About the time she pretended to turn dark. Bai Ningbing has a secret hobby. She especially loves seeing me flustered. It took me until the third month of our marriage to fully grasp this. That day, I came home from work and felt something was off. The moment I pushed the door open, the lights in the house were off. Only a bit of sunset light seeped through the cracks in the curtains. In the air, there was the faint scent of the perfume she usually wore, but it was a little stronger than usual. Ningbing? I put down my keys and walked into the house. No one answered. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed the door open and froze at the doorway. Bai Ningbing had her back to me, sitting on the edge of our large bed. She was wearing an old shirt of mine, loose and baggy, revealing her fair neck and collarbones. Her hair was in a loose bun, with a few stray strands falling beside her cheek. The scene was actually very beautiful, if she hadn't been holding the sharp utility knife that I used to open express packages in her hand. Moreover, she was leisurely using the tip of the knife to trace a familiar wooden box on the nightstand. That was the small box I used to store old things. There was nothing valuable inside, just some old school papers, a few coins, and a few class photos from high school graduation. You're back? She didn't turn around. Her voice was light, carrying an unusual laziness. The movement of her hand didn't stop. The tip of the knife made a small scratching sound on the wooden lid. Scratch. My heart leaped into my throat. This scene, this atmosphere, this line of dialogue, why was it so similar to the scene in that trashy horror movie she forced me to watch with her last week? When the villainess made her appearance, I composed myself, walked over. What are you doing? I asked, trying to keep my voice as normal as possible. She finally turned around. There was no expression on her face. Her eyes were a bit vacant, but the corners of her mouth were turned up in a faint, strange smile. Looking for something, she said, holding up an old, yellowed photo. It was my high school graduation photo. I was standing in a corner of the back row, smiling foolishly. Looking for what? I sat down beside her. The mattress dipped slightly. She tilted her head, looking at me. The sunset just happened to illuminate half of her face, her eyelashes casting long shadows beneath her eyes. Looking to see, she said, casually pointing the tip of the knife at the blurry figure of a girl next to me in the photo, who this person is. I leaned closer to look. It was a girl with a ponytail. Her face was a bit blurry from age, but I could still faintly make out her features. I think it's the academic committee member. I tried to recall. Her surname is Zhang. I don't remember clearly. Is that so? She drew out the words, the knife tip lightly tracing the outline of the girl. But why do I seem to remember that she sent you a love letter? Su Yan, was there such a thing? In high school, aside from Bai Ningbing, I had eyes for no one else. A love letter? Who sent it? When? My clueless expression seemed to amuse her. She let out a soft chuckle and put down the photo and the utility knife. She suddenly leaned close to me. The fresh scent of her shampoo and the warmth from her body rushed towards me. Su Yan. She raised her hand, her cool fingers gently caressing my cheek. Her voice dropped very low, carrying a deliberate, morbid tenderness. I couldn't participate in your past. What a pity. My eyelid twitched, but her fingertips slowly slid down, stopping at my Adam's apple, brushing over it fleetingly. Your present and future, every second, every minute, can only be mine. From the strands of your hair to the tips of your toes, from your heartbeat to your breath, it's all mine. She stared into my eyes, speaking each word slowly and clearly. If I find out that in here, her fingertip tapped lightly on my heart, there's someone else. She paused, then suddenly smiled brightly, leaning close to my ear. Her warm breath tickled my ear. I'll tie you up, lock you in the basement, where you can only look at me every day, only think of me, only talk to me. How does that sound? Su Yan. Silence. A silence that lasted 10 seconds. I looked at her face, so close to mine, that beautiful, flawless face, trying to maintain a stubborn, dark expression. But the familiar look deep in her eyes, that little flicker of triumph from a successful prank, along with her slightly trembling eyelashes, completely gave her away. I let out a sigh, and took the hand that was causing trouble at my throat. Bai Ningbing? I called her full name. She blinked. First, I said calmly, the person who gave me a love letter in high school was the arts committee member from the next class, not the academic committee member. You remembered the wrong person. Bai Ningbing. Her yander expression cracked. Second, I continued, I just bought that utility knife yesterday. The blade cover hasn't even been peeled off, and the plastic casing hasn't been snapped. Aren't you tired from waving the handle around for so long? Bai Ningbing. She looked down at the weapon in her hand, her ears turning red at a visible speed. Third, I brought her hand to my lips, and kissed her cold fingertips. I looked at her with a helpless expression. If you want to role play, just say so. We don't have a basement, but I just finished cleaning the attic yesterday. You can tie me up and take me anywhere you want. Bai Ningbing's act completely fell apart. Su Yan, you're so annoying. She slapped my hand away. The cold, gloomy expression on her face instantly crumbled. It turned into a look of anger out of embarrassment. Can't you play along a little? I've been building up my emotions all afternoon. I couldn't help but laugh. I reached out and pulled her, shirt and all, into my arms. I am playing along. I nuzzled the top of her head. Smelling the familiar scent on her was reassuring. I am being very serious and scared right now. Where are you scared? She struggled in my arms. Her fist slightly punched my shoulder. You're obviously holding back a laugh. I saw everything. That's because. I tightened my arms. I held her tighter. I lowered my head and kissed her flushed ear. I chuckled softly. My wife looks so adorable, playing the bad guy. So adorable that I just want to push you onto the bed and kiss you until you cry. Her body stiffened. Then it went completely limp. She buried her burning face in the crook of my neck. Who would cry? Her muffled voice came through. It held no threat at all. I held her. I watched the last bit of sunset outside the window sink below the horizon. The room was gradually enveloped by darkness, so I stroked her back. I asked Teacher Bay what kind of dramatic script she was reading today. Did you need to use me for practice? She fidgeted in my arms. Her voice grew even quieter. I just saw a trend online. It's to test if a boyfriend would be scared away by a pathologically jealous girlfriend. I laughed out loud. So what were the results of your test? She was silent for a moment. Suddenly, she looked up. In the dim twilight, her eyes sparkled. They were still a little misty and filled with trust and tenderness. The test result is, she leaned in and gently kissed the corner of my lips. Her voice was both soft and sweet. My husband is a fool. He clearly saw through it, but he didn't expose me. He even played along with me. My heart melted. I rested my forehead against hers. Because it's you. If you want to play, I'll play with you. If you want to cause trouble, I'll cause trouble with you. If you want to be the bad guy. I smiled and then kissed her. I'll be your accomplice, the kind that lasts a lifetime. She didn't say anything. She just hugged me tighter. The room became quiet. Only the sound of our breathing and heartbeats mingling together remained. After a long while, she said softly, as Su, Yan, I don't really want to lock you up. I know, but I really do get jealous. She nuzzled my chin. Even about old things that you yourself don't even remember. I laughed. My chest rumbled. In that case, from now on, my past, present, and future. I'll have to trouble Teacher Bay to personally watch over them, supervise me closely. Without leaving my side for even a moment, she finally laughed. Her eyes curved into beautiful crescents. Okay then, stamped and effective. Regretting it is useless. Outside the window, the lights of thousands of homes lit up one by one. And in our home, a play had just finished. A villainous act that was all just for show. End of side story.